Hi, so in this video I want to talk about rulers and the ruler tracks in Cubase. So let's go! So a couple of weeks ago I made a video on the marker tracks in Cubase, and initially I had actually planned to do that video about both markers and ruler tracks. During the video though I noticed that there was a lot to tell about just the marker tracks already, so I decided to split the rulers off in a separate video, this one. It's probably gonna be a short one, but I bet you that there will be things in here that you didn't know about rulers and the ruler tracks in Cubase yet. So let's dive right in. So this is my example Cubase project. It's a very simple one. It contains a marker track where I mark the sections of the song. So project start at the beginning, count in 2 measures, 4 measures intro, and then 4 measures verse, etc. And there's only one piano track in this project, and that's it. Nice and simple. Now, if you haven't seen my video on the marker track yet, I will link it in the description so you can check it out after you've watched this one. But as for the rulers, there's one ruler here in this project window, and that's on top of the window. And the numbers that you're seeing are currently bar numbers. That can be set over here, and let me move this window a bit so you can more easily see it. You can see that over here it is currently set to bars and beats. Now there are other options. You can set it to seconds, and then it'll show the number of seconds that you are into your project. And if you scroll further to the right, you can see that it starts counting minutes and seconds, etc, etc. Now if you set it to time code, you can see that it shows hours, minutes, seconds and frames. And the number of frames per second depends on how you configure this in the project setup. Project frame rate is currently 30 frames per second. But there's lots of different frame rates which align to various video formats. Now you can also show an even finer number, which is subframes. And for that you need to go to Edit, Preferences, Transport. You can enable Show Timecode Subframes, Apply. And now you can see that there's 2 more digits at the end after the frame number. Now another option is to show samples. So depending on your sample rate, this actually shows how many samples have occurred since the beginning of your project. Not sure what this would be useful for, but if you found a use for this, please let me know in the comments. And the final option is again a time code, but now you can specify the frames per second yourself. And in this case, it has been set to 60 frames per second. And you can specify that over here. Again, on the transport part, user definable frame rate. So maybe I have some weird format which requires me to do 80 frames per second. And now you can see that the setting is 80 frames per second. Now initially, when you open the project, the main ruler will be set to bars and beats. And that's determined by the project setup. Over here you can see that the display format for the project time displays is bars and beats. So if you want this to be seconds, you can set it to seconds. And this will basically switch the display format to seconds. Let's return back to bars and beats though. Now in this case, the ruler in the project window has been set to bars and beats, but that doesn't mean that the ruler in every window needs to be set to bars and beats. For example, if I open the sample editor by double clicking on this audio event, you can see initially it's also bars and beats, but I can set this to seconds, and this can be adjusted separately from the ruler display format in the project window. Now, if I want to change this globally for every window, I can basically go over here, timecode, and I hold Control at the same time on my keyboard. And now you can see that the rulers in both windows have switched to timecode display. So let's return both to bars and beats. Now, another interesting setting is whether the ruler is time linear or bars and beats linear. And currently it's set to bars and beats linear. And that means that the bars are always a fixed amount of space in your project window. Even if there are tempo changes, let's add a tempo track. And for example, increase the tempo here. You can see that the audio just zoomed in to adjust to the change tempo, but you can also see that the bars are still equally wide, despite the fact that the tempo has increased. So bar 5 actually lasts shorter than bar 4, which has a lower tempo. Now, if you want that displayed in a different way, you can set the ruler to time linear. And right now you can see that the amount of space that the bars take actually get adjusted to how much time they take. So bar 4 is at a lower tempo, so it takes more time. Bar 5 and further is at a higher tempo. So they go by faster, so they're displayed in the way to account for that. Let's go back to bars and beats linear. Now before I go on to ruler tracks, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and ring the little bell icon if you want to know when I post another video. And for even more support of the channel, I have affiliate links down in the description. If you're planning a purchase at any of these shops, you can click any of them and make your purchase, and then I will get a small commission without any extra cost to you. But now back to the main subject. Because Cubase also provides the ability to have multiple rulers in the project window. For example, I can add a ruler track in this way, add track, and I typically want it just below the main ruler. And the nice thing is that you can set this ruler track to display different information. For example, the main ruler is set to bars, and over here I can, for example, display the number of seconds that I'm in my project, so that I can keep an eye on the total running time of the project. And over here you basically have the same options as you had in the main ruler track of the window. Now you can add even more ruler tracks if you really want to. For example, to also show the time code. Now I haven't found any use for it, but if you have, please let me know in the comments, because I'm curious what you're using it for. Now what I find nice about showing both the bars and beats as well as the time is that when I make an export of my project, and typically that means that I will set the locators to where there's audio in my project, and I'll do an export of that part of the project, I can give a mix of this project to my band members, for example of my band Wash. So they will probably say like, okay, in 1 minute and 21 seconds, the bass needs to be louder or something similar. Now obviously that doesn't work the way I have set the ruler track currently, because 0 starts at the beginning of the project. And for the time code to be accurate of the downmix, I need to start 0 here where my export starts, so at the left locator. So let me move my cursor to the left locator, because what I can now do, I can say set time code at cursor, and there I can say that I want 0, 0 to be at the cursor. And Cubase will now ask a question. You have modified the timecode offset. Do you want to keep the project content at its timecode positions? And if I say yes, then the audio will start moving. So I have to say no to make sure that the audio doesn't move. And you can see now that the timecode on top starts at the cursor position, and I get an accurate time for how far I am in the project from the start of the mix, from the start of locator 1. Now it does look a bit weird, because I would prefer to just see 3 seconds, 8 seconds, etc, etc. But the developers of Cubase have apparently chosen to show this with a lot of digits. Looks a bit weird, but it's easy to get used to. And if you look at where this is adjusted, you can see that in the project setup, basically this move has reset the time at which the project starts. And you can actually do the same thing with the bars and beats numbers. And that's very useful when you're in a recording session and you want the bar and beat numbers to align with the bar and beat numbers on the sheet music, for example. Because typically the sheet music starts on bar 1. It doesn't take into account that you have 4 measures at the start of your Cubase project, because those are typically not in the sheet music. But you can also adjust that in the project setup. Over here, display bar offset. Over here I have 4 bars, which do not actually contain music. Cubase will again ask, you have modified the bar offset. Do you want to keep the project contents at its bar positions? And if I say yes, it will move all the audio to still start at bar 5. But so I don't want that. I just want the bar numbering to adjust. And you can now see that the bar numbers start at bar 1, exactly at the start of the intro. And the very start of the project starts at bar number -3. So now the bar numbers in the project will align much more with the bar numbers in the sheet music. Now if you made it all the way to this point in this video, you're probably interested in these deeper dives into Cubase functionality. So the next video is probably also right up your alley. It's about how to use audio warp in Cubase to tighten up a bass track. Check it out, enjoy, and see you soon.